Hi, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Politics with Sherry Jacobus. Thank you for subscribing. And if you're not yet subscribed, stick around. I hope you'll like what you see in here and you'll hit that button, that subscribe button, and help us out. So, you all know that I'm firmly in the camp of very much believing that Trump and Putin cheated in 2016, 2020, and 2024. And we're going to talk about this a little bit. Nothing we can do about it now, but I think knowledge is power. But I'm a little frustrated by some of the pushback on this by some smart people. When people say, well, I have not seen evidence that proves this, and these are people with an expertise in an area, very smart people, you need to think of it more as an investigator. You know something is off. There's enough evidence showing that something is off. And just because you haven't figured out how to prove specifically what they did, actually, some people have, doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means that you haven't figured it out yet. Remember, Trump and Putin have been at this a long time. They had a long time to plan. And with Elon, they know before we do what they are planning, what they're going to do on everything. The element of surprise is everything, which is why, for example, when Trump said he was building this ballroom with private donations and without congressional oversight, and he said that the East Wing and the White House itself would not be touched. And then he goes and they start demolishing, that portico. And they said, well, that's it. That's the only one that has to go. And then the next day they start just demolishing the entire East Wing. And he's got people defending him saying, well, they just came to the conclusion they needed to do that. That is not how you do these things. We have historical boards and societies, and this is a federal monument building. You do this with congressional oversight and appropriations. You don't just willy-nilly pretend that it's your own private property. And Trump knows this, and he did it anyway, because he knows no one will stop him. Now, the key, of course, is the bunker underneath. It's not about the ballroom. It's about the bunker. The ballroom, and presumably the bunker, will be bigger than the White House itself. Think about that. And this is exactly what Hitler did, Saddam Hussein, all the bad guys have done this very same thing. And we are in danger. We don't know who's paying for this. We don't know who's taking care of the military, national security, communications for this. It's very disturbing. What's disturbing to me is that we still go, well, unless we have actual proof. It's like, do people watch too much TV or too many movies? I don't know. But I want to talk about 2016. We'll start there, okay? In 2016, the polls had Hillary winning in key states, even the close states. We know that Paul Manafort met with Kalimnik sometime prior to all of this, weeks and months prior to this, basically providing Putin illegally with internal campaign polling data. So they kind of knew where the spots were that they could be prepared to cheat. Karl Rove famously told a whistleblower, allegedly, that if a state on election night is within 3 percentage points, you can cheat undetected. Now, you can only do this with machines. You can't really do this with paper ballots. At least at that time, they couldn't. And it appears that that is what happened in the 3 battleground states: Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. So in the final hours, I do have notes here, of the 2016 election, major statistical models gave Donald Trump very low chances of winning Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and most predicted a victory for Hillary Clinton. Forecasts from data journalism site 538 gave Trump a 30% chance of winning the election overall, but even that estimate was higher than most. So even giving him the benefit of the doubt there. So even with 538's final forecast, Wisconsin, the averages showed a tight race with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump at 47% each, but other late polls had Clinton up by double digits. And Trump ultimately won the state by just 0.77%, less than 1%. Pennsylvania, pre-election polling averages indicated Clinton had a modest 3 to 5 point lead. And polls conducted just days before the election still showed her with a 6 point lead. That's pretty big, folks. Yet Trump ultimately won by 0.72%, less than 1%. See the similarities? Not enough to kick in an automatic recount. Weird, huh? Michigan, polling averages gave Clinton a consistent lead, and she was expected to win comfortably. And Trump ultimately won by a margin of only 10,700 votes, or 0.23%. Okay. Um, that should be concerning. Now, here's the thing. And I've talked about this before, but it's important to connect the dots. It's important to connect the dots. You have to understand that, okay, first of all, Manafort gave the secret polling data, internal polling data to Putin. So Putin knew where to set up on election night. There is a secret media consortium of all the major media that join together, and they do exit polling throughout the day on election day. It is held close to the vest. They know in advance who won. In it, they know. And at 5 o'clock, they then release this secret polling data, which is still to be secret, not to be reported, to the members of the media consortium. Okay. Polls are still open. 5 o'clock Eastern time. What is it? 2 o'clock out in California, out west. So the media, it knows already. They can see how this is going. And they certainly know what's happening in the Midwest. All right. And especially on the East Coast. Now, Michigan, Wisconsin are Midwest, Pennsylvania's East Coast on election night. At 5:01, an ABC News producer by the name of Chris Vlasto calls his good buddy at the campaign, at the Trump campaign, Dave Bossy, the deputy campaign manager, the one who introduced Trump to, Steve Bannon, the Mercers, that Cambridge Analytica money. And he's also Mr. Citizens United. And I knew him working on Capitol Hill long before that. I know these people. So Chris Vlasto was in line, even though it's illegal to do this in advance, but he wanted to be Trump's White House communications director. Yeah, this ABC News producer. So he calls Dave Bossy at the campaign and says, you guys lost, and here's where. And he gives him the secret exit polling numbers. And Dave Bossy then goes and reports it to Trump, who turns to Melania and says, it looks like we lost. Now, we know all this because Bossy, an idiot, Corey Lewandowski, who's really not a smart guy. He's angry and he's nuts, but he's not smart. They put this in their book. And Reince Priebus was there. So clearly at that point, there was enough people around who knew this. Jared Kushner, who knew this, so they can get it to Putin, Manafort. They had a direct line. Remember, Putin already would have been set up and ready to move on election night. They know how to do this. Remember, Karl Rove said, oh, yeah, you can do this. If it stays within 3 percentage points, you can do this undetected. So Trump loses. The media knows this. They all have the same polling data. Everything leading into this shows it. They knew. All the polling, all the statistics, everything. And they knew that overall Hillary was going to win by about 3 million in the popular vote nationwide. Everybody knew this. So something happened between 5:01 p.m. Eastern and a few hours later, the next 4 or 5 hours, when all of a sudden Trump miraculously pulls ahead in these 3 key battleground states. So he was going to lose the popular vote because it's harder to cheat, nationwide, the popular vote. But if you can cheat undetected when a state is within 3 percentage points, and you do it so it's just under the level, so you don't trigger the automatic recount. Statistically, this was nearly impossible to happen. And remember, it happened late. It happened after they knew they had lost and where they were losing. And all of a sudden, these votes show up, the ones that I just read to you, 77,000 votes, an extremely small number, perfectly distributed among those 3 battleground states, where those numbers added together would put Trump in the winning column with the Electoral College, even though he was losing the popular vote. You understand what happened here? So for people after that, everybody engaging in what did pollsters get wrong? How do they, I'm sorry. I think that smart people, everybody knows that it's just too horrific. It's too horrific to believe that this could happen in the United States of America. Everybody knows it happened, but they're looking for other reasons, other excuses. And even now we have very smart people saying, I have not seen an evidence. No, you haven't, because you haven't been at it as long as other people have been. It's not your area of expertise. And these are smart people that have real areas of expertise. That's why I hate it when lawyers try to do politics. Everybody thinks it's so easy. Remember, politics, we're trying to make easy, simple messages that people understand. So it looks real easy to people who don't do this for a living, but it's actually not, which is why I don't like to see people crossing over too much. It looks easy because it's designed to look easy. So yeah, I think it's pretty clear what happened with that election. Now in 2020, we had the pandemic. And there were all these mail-in votes, these paper ballots, which at least then, they may have perfected this by now, but at least then it was harder to cheat. Okay? Remember, just because you haven't figured out precisely how they did it, although some people have, doesn't mean they didn't do it. You kind of have to know they did it. There just cannot be these many coincidences and everybody's wrong and somehow this miracle happened on election night. And even the GOP-led Senate Intelligence Committee, led by at that time by Marco Rubio, issued a report saying, yeah, Putin was very actively trying to cheat for Trump. And we know this. We all know this. So this happened, folks. This happened. Now in 2020, a lot of paper ballots because they were mailed in ballots. And all of a sudden, Putin and Trump knew, we have a problem here. We're not going to be able to cheat as easily. Remember, it was a pandemic. So what do they do? Remember the pictures of all the locked mailboxes and mailboxes being ripped out of the ground and hauled away right before the election from heavily Democratic areas? Yeah. They were trying to keep people from walking to a mailbox in their neighborhood during the pandemic and mailing their vote in, their paper ballot. And they did it out in the open because they were panicked. They had no other way to do this. And then inexplicably, Louis DeJoy, Trump's thug running the postal service, just decided to order the dismantling of perfectly good $2 million apiece mail sorting machines in certain areas of the United States right before the election, with no plan to have new ones built to take their place first. And that way you could not count all of those mail-in ballots in time for them to count in the election. Okay? This happened. It does not matter what the bots and trolls say and the Trumpers say on social media. This happened. These are not coincidences. There are no legitimate excuses. Even though people try and throw these legitimate excuses out there, you can't do that when there's this whole package of information showing how Trump and Putin cheated. But because of that, Joe Biden won. And he ran a good campaign. He was well known. He won. Now, fast forward to 2020 with Kamala Harris. She ran an excellent campaign. The polls had her kicking ass, as they say, right? So what happened here then? Let's see what happened. Okay, yeah. Oh, here's an interesting fact. So what do they do when you can't cheat because of all these mail-in ballots? So now you need to do something else. You enlist Elon Musk and all his magic machines. And Trump openly talked about this. Elon Musk even admitted it. They knew how to do this. They had perfected things by now. And there's no pandemic. Things had been perfected to pull off that thing that Karl Rove allegedly said to a whistleblower about when the state is within 3 percentage points. They can do that even more. So here we have something that does not make any sense at all. Other than, well, they cheated in 2016 and 2020, so they're going to cheat in 2024. In Wisconsin, Trump wins. But Tammy Baldwin, the Democrat on the ballot for the Senate statewide, also wins. Now you can say, oh, but they're so right-wing or something or bigoted that they wouldn't vote for a Black woman, but they voted for the openly gay woman again. And they voted for her before in Tammy Baldwin. So it doesn't make sense. It looks like cheating. These battleground states that Trump won them all, when the Democrat senator was on the ballot and also won, or a Democratic candidate, not even an incumbent, also won. So we're to believe that all these people who didn't vote for Trump before chose him, but they didn't switch parties. They weren't voting for all MAGA, just him. Come on, folks. Come on. If you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you. In Michigan, the other battleground state, Trump wins. Elise Slotkin wins. And it was her first statewide race. Democrat. The Democrat wins. Who's going to split their ticket at this stage in the game? You can't even argue, well, people didn't know what Trump was. Oh, they knew. They did not vote for this. Nevada, Trump wins, but so does Democrat Rosen. In Arizona, Trump wins, but so did the Democrat Gallego. This is statewide. North Carolina, Trump wins, but so did Democrat Stein. All of these battleground states that Trump needed in order to win appear to be a little shaky. Very suspicious. Trump cheated. Trump, Putin, and this time Elon Musk. Remember, they failed in 2020 to pull off what they pulled in 2016, so they had to enlist Elon Musk. Why do you think Trump let that monster hang around him in the White House like that and make a fool of him? He had to. He had to. Elon Musk partnered with Putin to hand Trump the White House again, and Trump had to suck it up and let Elon come in and do whatever. Okay? This happened. This happened. I have seen the experts go take parts of this and try and pull it apart, but you can't explain the bigger picture other than what I've just told you. It's a fact. It is a fact. I don't know if it's too late or not. But what I can tell you is that Democrats' refusal, Schumer and Jeffries' refusal to do daily fact-checking press briefings from the Capitol building, to provide that content of truth that would be farmed out all over the United States. And don't say, oh, the mainstream media won't cover it. Stop sounding like an amateur. I'm sorry, folks, but I get this all the time. It's not just for mainstream media. I've told you there are literally thousands of press housed right there in the House and Senate press galleries in the Capitol building. This would be their beat. That's why you can't take it a few blocks away to the DNC. It's no longer their beat. They are there. They were waiting for something to cover, and a lot of their outlets have been kicked out of the White House. You provide the content. You provide the he said to their she said over at the White House. It will make the mainstream news. It will provide content to every podcaster, all of us with our YouTube channels, everybody's blogs, all the radio stations, everybody's social media, and each one of you out there in your corner of the world doing what you can to save this country. Whether you are posting replies on Facebook to your MAGA friends or former friends to fact check them. Remember, I've said this before. If every one of us uses the power that we have and you can only change one mind, think of what this, if you were armed daily with a few key facts backed up by data and proof. Think how much stronger you would be in your corner of the world trying to save this country. Think of it as creating content, not just, well, if you hold a press briefing and it'll be there. Yes, they will. You have a permanent room in the basement of the Capitol. You have permanent cameras there. You don't even, and pool cameras. And you set up some folding chairs. You get a lectern and some decent lighting, and you need some outlets to plug this stuff in. That's it, folks. That's all you need. That's all you need. And I've suggested Pete Buttigieg as the guy to do it. As a super staffer, the way Elon Musk was, Trump, not just a mere staffer. And if asked, I think he would do it, but it has to be Schumer and Jeffries. You could pay for it by assessing each Democratic office, or the Senate, or there's a policy and steering committee. It's run by Amy Klobuchar. We don't know what it does, but it has a budget. It could get a permanent room. You probably wouldn't even have to get a senator to give up their basement hideaway office, but you could. This is cheap. It is easy. I could have it up and running in 4 days. And that, to my final point here, The way you prevent that, well, on election night, if a state is within 3 percentage points, you can cheat undetected. The way you prevent that is to not let any state be within 3 percentage points. Make it too big to cheat. And the way you do that is to get everybody active now with proper information with these daily press briefings. I hope I've explained this well. I mean, we've talked about bits and pieces of this, here and there. And sometimes I feel the need to put it all together in one package so that you all can advocate for this and I don't have to keep answering the same questions over and over again on social media. But yeah, Trump cheated 3 times. I just explained how. And we know we're in an uphill battle to save this country if we even have midterms. But if everybody is armed with truth, then we'll get more and more Marjorie Taylor Greenes out there. I can't believe I'm saying this, who will turn against Trump, at least on key issues, because their constituents back home are starting to weigh in and go, excuse me, Congresswoman, I'm getting my healthcare premium bill. Why is it 3 times what it used to be? Why can't I afford food at the grocery store? You see? By the way, what about those Epstein files? And the way we get those people to weigh into those MAGA members of Congress so they start answering more to their constituents, rather they fear their constituents more than they fear Trump. You do that with accurate information, and you get that accurate information with daily fact-checking press briefings from the Capitol, period. These are all the gears working together. I'm a political strategist. This is what I do. It's what I've done for 40 years plus. It's not just, think of a good slogan and messaging. It's not just messaging. It's the distribution of that message. It is a strategy. It is a strategy. And I'm kind of putting this out there for you now so that we can all kind of be political strategists. Since we're on our own and we don't really have a lot of Democratic leadership, we all have to do it. So maybe this has been a little bit of a tutorial, but I hope it's helpful. I hope I'm not just screaming into the abyss because sometimes it does feel that is what we are doing. But do not let people tell you that, we don't have enough evidence to say that they cheated. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Just like we know Trump is in the Epstein files and then some. We know this. We know this. There's a lot of things we know. We know he stole those documents and he got away with it. And he didn't do them just because he wanted to have them as a souvenir. He's a traitor. We know this. So stop letting people talk you into not believing it, even though we don't want to believe it. We have to be adults about this. We have to be. Because this is happening. We let some social media gadflies that we never heard of before convince us that Merrick Garland was on the job and he's just dotting the I's and crossing the T's. We have to be smarter than this. We have to be smarter than this. Anyway, I hope that this video actually is something that you can pass around and go back and refer to because I connected all the dots. I put it all out there in bits and pieces before many, many times. I put it on social media. I put it in print, but it's all right here in language that I hope is I hope I didn't leave anything out, but I hope that it's information that you can understand and care about and use it so that you can get other people to understand and care about it. Thanks.